Hey YouTube, today we're going over my top 5 basic care tips for owning a pet slider turtle. So just to teach you a little bit about turtle anatomy, this top part of the shell, this is the carapace. Okay, the carapace is made up of a whole bunch of scutes, and these are essentially bony plates. Okay, and these are actual bony extensions of the turtle. Turtles don't just live in a shell, they are part of the shell. The shell is a bony part of them. That is very important to know. This isn't something that you can just extract from a shell and it be okay. Their backbone is essentially fused to this shell. They are a part of it. Okay, now this bottom part here, this is the plastron. This part of the shell is called a plastron, and it too has some scutes. Okay, now so if you're going to keep these guys as pets, you should really know what to feed them at the right ages. It's very important that reptiles in general get the right minerals and vitamins, especially calcium. And their calcium absorption also is dependent on how much UV rays they get. So it is extremely important that even as a tiny little hatchling turtle, you have them with a UV light, a broad spectrum UVA UVB light, and that way they can metabolize the calcium and other minerals that they are eating, and they can metabolize it correctly for bone growth and for proper shell growth. They can get a lot of things, especially like metabolic bone disease, which is a really big problem and can very easily kill them, especially when they're babies. For something this size, this is the proper diet for them. You want to give them these pellets because honestly, it's like a food pyramid. Everything that they require is already inside these little pellets. They make it so that it's full of nutrition, full of protein that they need, and this is what they're going to need to have. This is essentially all they need if you absolutely want the bare minimum, but you can supplement their diet with the little shrimps, with as they grow, little feeder guppies, things like that supplements their protein. When they grow up and they get much bigger, like Yoshi here, you want to get them into these types of pellets. Okay, these pellets have some protein in them, but at this point they also have a lot more vegetation, and vegetation is very important once they're adults. Once they're adults, if you want to take them off the pellets and you want to feed them directly, you need to be giving them regularly a lot of leafy greens. You need to be giving them some lettuce, some spinach, some collard greens, things like that. Greens is going to be the main source. Every once in a while they'll still go for a feeder guppy or a worm or two. That's not a problem. They are omnivores, but they are going to need those greens as they get older. Very, very messy eaters. These guys will just tear up whatever, these little pellets. They'll leave the crumbs. They will leave pieces of little feeder guppies. They will leave pieces of the greens, and that is why they really, really, really need good pumps if you're gonna have them in either a pond or tank setting. You need to have a really good pump to clean out and filter everything in there, because they are constantly going to be producing a lot of poop. You're cleaning them regularly. You're going to want to clean that tank, even if you do have a great filter on there. You're going to want to clean that tank at least once a week, ideally, and continue to make sure that you're keeping them really clean and that they're able to have their dry spot, some sort of a dry dock in the tank, so that they can get up and sunbathe, so they can receive that UVB light, whether it's outside or artificial lamp, because it is extremely important for their nutrition. This is not, I repeat, not an appropriate setup for a baby. Okay, I know that pet stores like to sell this. This is something that looks cute and it seems like a good idea, but it's really not appropriate size for a baby turtle. Ideally, they should be in a 10 to 20 gallon tank. Okay, something like these back here, the size of these. That's just for a baby. Okay, the babies need to be able to swim around, get on land if they need to, but they need to be able to move and make it as close to their natural environment as possible. This doesn't even give them enough depth to swim and be able to get up here on the dry dock. Okay, this is absolutely not a good idea. Adults as large as Yoshi there, full adult females and males, at the very minimum, they should have a 55 gallon tank or bigger for each turtle. That is why I have them in a pond outside. It's much more room for them. They have more gradients of, shallows to depth to deep, and they have dry spots on the side, and I have a couple bricks for them so that they can get up and sunbathe as well. That's really what they need. This isn't an animal that's going to stay small in a little tank. It is false that if you keep them in a small tank, they will stay small. That is not true. It's bad information. Don't listen to folks who tell you this. These animals need space. So just as a quick review, here are the top 5 things you need to properly take care of a slider turtle as a pet. Okay, the biggest thing is proper sized enclosure. You need to have the right size tank for the size of the animal and continue to expand the size as the animal grows. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, you need to have the right kind of filtration because they are very dirty, very messy eaters and poopers. Filtration, pumps, and regular cleanings. 3, you need to have a dry area as well as their regular water wet area. They need to have a dry area to have that basking spot so that they can get the proper lighting. Which brings us to number 4, which is having the proper lighting. They have to have the right UV light to metabolize all of the nutrients that they need properly. So you either need to do that artificially with a lamp or naturally with the sun. The last thing, number 5, is making sure that you feed them the right thing as they grow. These guys, full grown, this is a male, but these guys, full grown, need to already be eating veggies, greens, things like that, and occasionally sources of protein. As babies, when they're this big, they need to be having lots of protein, and they need to be having it every day. Compared to these guys, they only need to be fed a couple times a week. So there you have it. That's just a summary of the 5 things you need to properly take care of a slider turtle as a pet. It's a good idea to make sure you call around ahead of time and see what veterinarian in your area can see exotic pets like turtles. And have that number around, because if you see anything wrong or different, you need to be calling them up. Okay? This is just like any other animal and should be taken care of by a veterinarian. So that's all the time we have for today, but I hope you enjoyed it. As always, we hope you like and subscribe, and if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and put that into the comment section below. Alright, and find us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're on there regularly updating and putting facts on these guys and lots of our other creatures here.